Jiri Prochazka recently made some startling revelations about his health going into his undisputed light heavyweight title fight against Alex Pereira at UFC 295 this past November. Denisa revealed that he suffered from a nasty staph infection in his left leg and could only train for a week in the 5 weeks leading up to the fight. Prochazka and Pereira went up against each other in the main event of UFC 295 at Madison Square Garden for the vacant light heavyweight title. While many expected the fight to go the distance, Potan secured a second-round knockout over Prochazka and took home the 205-pound strap. In a recent interview with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, the former light heavyweight champion opened up about his preparations going into the title fight and revealed that he was suffering from a serious infection in his left leg that spread to his ear. He said, "From the last 5 weeks of preparations, I trained just 1 week.
Stuff on my leg, and then it started to travel in my body, like to my ear. One morning I woke up and my ear was like total like 4 times bigger, and then another thing, then another. So there was a lot of things too.
After Mame Fighting posted a clip from the interview on X, fans flocked to the post's comments section and slammed Prochazka for fighting with the infection. Next, let's take a look at Khamzat Chimaev believes he beats Jon Jones. Khamzat Chimaev, who doesn't have many nice words to spare for most fighters, believes Jon Jones is still the best in the world, but he also believes he can beat him in a fight. Speaking on the Smile to Jana podcast, Borze said, "Jon Jones still is the best fighter in the world right now. He has most title defenses, he's a 2-weight class champion, and he never lost still. He's the youngest champion in UFC history. So for sure, he's dream match for everyone who wants to be in the history books." About a fight with the bonuses, Chimaev says, "Depends which weight class. He's now a heavyweight. You're asking me. For sure, I think I will win. That's a hard fight for everyone." Next stop is Sharabutin Magomedov claims Khabib Nurmagomedov will break me if they fight. Sharabutin Magomedov is the latest Dagestani export to set the UFC ablaze. During a recent interview, Magomedov spoke glowingly about fellow Dagestani and lightweight legend Khabib Nurmagomedov, who retired from active competition back in 2020 after submitting Justin Gaethje. According to Magomedov, Nurmagomedov's well-known strength and overall physical prowess as a grappler would be far too much for him to contend with. So despite the significant size difference between the pair, it is the 185-pounder's opinion that Nurmagomedov would beat him on the wrestling mats. When I look at Khabib, he looks so big. I wanted to wrestle him when he was around the same weight as me. I believe now he's heavier than me, and physically, I wanted to feel that strength that he had when he was still competing. But now I understand that he is really a bear, and he can just break me." Despite hailing from Dagestan, where wrestling and sambo are the most widely practiced martial arts, Magomedov is primarily a striker. He entered the UFC off the strength of his undefeated record, which consisted primarily of knockouts. In fact, of his 12 wins, 10 have come by way of either knockout or TKO. Unfortunately, his promotional debut against Bruno Silva was not without its concerns. Despite his superior mettle on the feet, the surging 185-pounder struggled in the wrestling department more than many had anticipated. Nevertheless, he emerged victorious via unanimous decision. At 29 years old, he is expected to be a notable force in the middleweight scene for years to come, and especially once he improves his defensive wrestling and grappling. Next stop is Dricus du Plessis on potential showdown with Khamzat Chimaev. UFC middleweight Dricus du Plessis recently weighed in on a potential fight against undefeated sensation Khamzat Chimaev in the future. In an exclusive interview with Sportskada MA's Andrew Whitelaw, du Plessis discussed his future plans and the prospect of defending his middleweight title against Chimaev if he wins the upcoming title clash against Sean Strickland. Strickland will defend his title for the first time against du Plessis in the main event of UFC 297 this weekend. Dricus du Plessis outlined his ultimate goal of being a 2-division champion and speculated who he might have to defend a potential belt against. "Yeah, I think you know. Am I willing to say that I'm definitely defending against Khamzat? No. I saw a lot of reports saying that Izzy is there, we'll see what he wants to do. To me, it honestly doesn't really matter. I'm there to be the champion and do what I have to do as a champion. Defend my belt. Obviously, I want to go up eventually in my career and go for a second belt. However, the South African was very vocal about the UFC 297 headliner being his primary focus. He went to great lengths to explain the level of his focus, even reasoning that he had zero plans beyond the title fight. However, the South African was very vocal about the UFC 297 headliner being his primary focus. He went to great lengths to explain the level of his focus, even reasoning that he had zero plans beyond the title fight. But right now, everything ends for me. It's like I have a date with destiny next week, Saturday. Nothing in my life goes past that. I don't even know what I'm doing the next day. I don't even think about anything that happens. No plans make any difference. There's no plans for the rest of my life. My life ends on Saturday night. I'm either gonna be the champion of the world or I'm gonna die trying. And that is a fact. Dricus du Plessis discusses brawl with Sean Strickland, reveals if Tarzan bit him. There is a lot of bad blood between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. The two brawled each other octagon side at UFC 296 after tensions boiled over. Strickland launched himself at du Plessis, and only after a brief scuffle were the two separated by security. Still, Knox commented on whether Strickland bit him during the brawl in the interview with Sportskeeda MMA, saying, "I could feel something like that. I remember thinking, did this guy try to bite me? Because he was grabbing my head and pulling it down to the side, and I just shoved him to the floor. I guess that was the biting action. But no, I didn't have any marks. I think it was this left here."